Welcome to Wadih Wednesday. Apologies, things happen. All right, Mira. All right, are we live?
We're about to be live on Instagram. Just give us a few seconds and we will be live.
All right, and can you also check the lighting? Hi, everybody. Can you see and hear us okay? For those that, the lighting is terrible.
The lighting on TikTok is very different.
I don't even know what to tell you. Let's try that. How's that? Better?
Let me check.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Hope you can see me and hear me okay. Okay, there's a lot happening this morning. You know, it's interesting that today's topic is feeling guilty as Arab when you take care of yourself. And I literally was talking to Mira about how this topic was near and dear to my heart because, full transparency, I probably haven't been taking care of myself in the way that I need to. And so here we are, which then leads to burnout, making mistakes. And so something happened this morning that caused a big mistake, which is why I'm had to get on the live later. So this is a great topic for us to continue to talk about. Thank you. Beside 8, I love you too. Thank you. I love this community. Really appreciate it. Let's see. Pa Race Tamo, that's what you're feeling right now. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Hola, Silava Bashir, ¿cómo estás? Buenos días. Ibrahim El Mansi, Sabah al Khair. Good morning, everybody. Mira, how's everything? The lighting, are we ready to go or what?
Yeah, I think on TikTok, maybe you have a filter on or something. Can you check?
There's no filter.
Nothing?
No. How about, let me just lower the lighting. Oh no, that's not going to work. Hold on.
For anyone that's wondering, we're just streaming on different platforms. That's why we just gotta make sure everything's going good. We're streaming on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at the same time. So
is that better?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Vegan Farah. Thank you, everybody. Hello. Sorry, this topic is so good.
I know.
When we don't rest, you are in distress.
Right.
So welcome, everybody. My name is Tiffany Tota. I'm a marriage and family therapist. I started Community for International Arab with my amazing assistant, Mira, back in July of 2024. We're almost at, 2 years.
Yeah.
And the community has grown significantly. And what we talk about is emotional health and wellness topics within our cultural context, because there are nuances. With that said, it's important for anybody that's new to the platform to recognize that what we go through is very much human experience. I'm not saying that we're different than other human beings. However, we don't have spaces for us to talk about it. And that's why this community was created, so that we can talk about these things and heal Mabad. We're a collective culture. And so we want to heal together, as well as talk about the things that we don't necessarily talk about. With that said, you might get triggered. I love our Arab culture. Nothing I say is against it's about upgrading, enhancing, helping, moving us forward as a community and as a society. All of the things that I do here comes from a place of love and compassion and understanding. With that said, if you get triggered in here by anything I say, take a look at that. We get a lot of projection. That's a psychological term. We get a lot of projection. Really nasty comments. I'm letting you know we don't tolerate any of that in here. We want to have respectful discussions. You will be deleted blocked. The reason why this community, we want to create a sense of safety. And that safety comes from, oh, I'm shedding. That safety comes from ensuring that we have healthy discussions, not these very limited comments that we get online. Okay, that's my speech. So what doesn't apply, let it fly. If it doesn't apply to you or in your family, just the show. And then if it resonates, then take a look at it for yourself and go, what does all this mean? How's that, Mira? Are we good?
Yes, we're good.
Ground rules for the live?
Oh, yeah, yes.
No khalto bahdala? Okay, let's get started. Where is everyone coming in from? Today's live is about guilt. And as Arab, we typically, especially as adult Arab children, many of us, many of you in my work especially, harbor so much guilt, okay? So much guilt. So we're gonna take a look at why do you feel guilty for taking care of yourself, okay? Why do you feel guilty for taking care of yourself? Now I'm gonna ask a question. Have any of you ever felt guilty just for resting? Anybody? Maybe you could put guilt in the comments. Okay, Mira, there's already somebody shenaniganing in the live. Can you please remove? Yeah, that's so annoying. I'm not even in 5 minutes. I'm not in a good mood. So I'm letting you guys know I'm very punchy today. So please be mindful of what you put in the comments. All right, yeah. So if you've ever felt guilty for resting, this is very common. You're not alone. And we're going to talk about the reasons for that. Like, have you ever had the thought, if I choose myself, it means hurting my family? Okay, if I choose myself, it means I'm not doing something for my family. And so what we're going to talk about is, within our Arab context, not investing in yourself is often rewarded, right? At least for the short term. How many of you have heard things like, oh, look at Binti, look how much she does for me, look how much she sacrifices, or Shuf Ibni, Demin huwa hek, he's always with us, yet over the long term, so that can feel good when you're a kid or younger and you're wanting to please them, and that's okay to do that. But over the long term, you keep giving and giving and giving and giving and sacrificing yourself, sacrificing your needs, because that's what we were taught to do, which in and of itself is okay. But over the long term, it leads to resentment, burnout, identity confusion, and quiet depression, which many people in my experience, in my work, on this platform, the DMs I get daily is this quiet struggle around giving, 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 and not being able to have the space to replenish oneself for what you are giving out. And so we can say, I love my parents, I love them, and I resent them. So there's a lot of love, but there's a lot of resentment. And if you're feeling this way, and if you're resenting all the obligations, part of it is taking a look at what this means to you and the impact on you. And I've seen it lead to physical illness, emotional complications, this idea that getting approval from the family, and then you never get the approval because they keep moving the goalposts and you keep chasing something that you need to find within yourself or your sense of belonging as long as you do everything that they want you to do, which is never enough typically, you're wanting this approval that never comes. And then that sense of belonging that you have, if you decide to do something for yourself, puts you at risk for not belonging. Okay? Many of you, myself included, you do it, let me just do it and get it over with because it creates less conflict. So I'd rather sacrifice myself to do it so that there would be less conflict in the family, less tuwash, less arguing. Okay? So what we're here to talk about is that we're going to talk about ways to minimize that. But I know everyone, Arab are so quick in the comments. You guys are, what's the solution? What's the solution? What's the solution? Everyone's like, what's the solution, Tiffany? And I'm crashing out right now because we need to have understanding first. Can we slow down for 2 minutes and slow down? There's no solution. You know what the solution is? Being quiet for 2 minutes, recognizing what's happening within you, and don't ask me about the solution. The solution comes. استنوا هدوا شوية. The solution, Cal, Damon, solution. Okay. That's an example of what burnout looks like, just to let you guys know. So one thing I'm going to encourage all of you to think through is that in Arab household, the family isn't something you have. It's something you are. I think what Western therapists, a lot of times, what they don't understand is that our family isn't just a family we have here, that they are us. We are them. And so your choices that you make for yourself reflect on everyone else. Okay? Independence, if you even remotely create some independence for yourself, you may immediately feel like that's a disconnection from them. And some Arab parents will remind you over and over again, where are you? What are you doing? You're disconnect. They won't use the words disconnect, but they will do these very, what are some Arab phrases you guys hear for your parents? Anytime you decide, oh, mama, baba, badi ruh, I want to go do something. And then they hammer over your head. Why? What are you doing? Why are you going? What's that? And then you're so hick, you get so nervous, you go, forget it. I'm not going to go. Or if you do go, they're blowing up your phone. When into, when inti, when rahti, when rah, what are you doing? And it's this constant that you can't even relax or enjoy yourself. And maybe you just decided to go to a cafe to have coffee with a friend. Yeah, shadow pants. It is exhausting. And so, right, I love that. What are some of the comments? Yeah, I'm so glad this resonates.
Nadine said lashu, and you're going out lashu.
Totally. I think a lot of the Arab comedians will talk about this a lot, and we make jokes and we think it's funny, and it can be because we have to use humor to deflect the pain. And I get that. So what you may start to internalize is my needs can register internally as I'm separating from us. And that can be profoundly anxiety provoking. And in a lot of Arab families, it's not me versus you. It's if you choose me, am I leaving you? And so that's because, and we'll talk about why our Arab parents will do that. It's if you give a little bit to yourself, they see it as a detachment. When I'm imploring all Arab parents who are listening today, when your children, I can promise you, well, I can't, as a therapist, I get in trouble for that. I can tell you, your children are a part of you. They love you. They They want to be with you. They will not leave you. Okay. Some might, if you're too abusive and you demand too much. It's about giving them space to just be. It doesn't mean they're out. I don't want to say the bad word in Arabic, but you know, there's like this, oh, they're out doing bad things, or they're out, you know, I'll just say it, whoring around, or whatever the Arab parent creates in their mind to create this oppression. It's like, no, they're just going to have a cup of coffee with a friend. No one is doing what your mind is thinking, or, oh, they're going to get hurt, or, oh, they're going to do this. They're fine. They love you. So the Arab parent, if you want your children around you with true love, not obligation, then give them a little bit of space. And I can tell you, most Arab that I work with in my experience, you just need a little bit, but we don't even get the crumb, right? We don't even get the crumb. So Arab parents, give your kids some space, let them breathe, trust that you raised good kids, and keep it moving. So now, how are we doing on the comments?
Can I read some comments of things people hear when they say I want to go out?
Yeah, please.
So we have Shireen. She said, what happened to you? They would tell her, what happened to you?
Let me guess, Shireen. So it's like, if you go say, oh, I want to do this for myself, or I want to prepare myself, they'll say, what happened to you? Like, because when you pour into someone over and over and over again, and then you just take a step back to say, oh, shu sar fiki, what happened? What happened to you? Yeah, I know. Right. It's a manipulation tactic to keep you going, doing their bidding.
Monica said, you've changed. You're not yourself anymore. Why have you shifted? You're abandoning your family.
Yes. I have a jestful joke with my clients. Whenever their family tells them that, I said, great job. You're on your right path. Whenever the family, when you're doing things in your alignment and you're doing things that fulfill you and you feel good, and your family starts to push back on you, why have you shifted? What happened to you? No, you are on the right track. Okay? Yeah. Go ahead. What else?
Some other comments all reflected the same idea of accusing their kids of doing something wrong. Like someone said, Bisay said, ما نعرف شو تسوين لحالك طول الوقت. We don't know what you're doing alone all the time.
Yeah, I do understand that. Even though I can't speak Arabic that well, I do understand it. So, okay. And then I think Vegan Farah wrote on guilt, especially guilt of feeling like you didn't do enough. Why that's something so ingrained. I appreciate that comment. So let's name the guilt. And let's talk about what that looks like. It's so ingrained for a lot of reasons, but let's take a look at where it shows up. Feeling bad, saying no to your family. And that could be not just your immediate family, it could be your extended family. It could be family, friends. We are conditioned because of our collective culture to be everything to everyone. And that extends out. You may have extreme anxiety for setting boundaries. Now, we make jokes, oh, ma fi anna boundaries in our culture. However, that saying, I'm not going to pick up the phone right now because I want to finish my exercise routine, or I want to establish just a quiet morning for myself. You may have anxiety just doing that. Many of you over-explain your needs. Mama, Baba, I'm doing this because, and then you go on and on and on, justifying why you want to go to the coffee with the friend, or to take a class, or to take a trip, or to go or to take music lessons, or to do anything outside of that something that's going to fulfill you, you may over explain. I said, the more you explain, the more they're going to entangle you in this dynamic of you're leaving us. Try not to explain yourself. Then it's this guilt that you feel for being a good daughter, good son, versus your authentic self. And so your authentic self may say, I want to do certain things that make me feel good, yet to be a good daughter and son, because of the demands of the parent or the fears of the parent, that identity, that belonging, that need to have less conflict may overshadow your authentic self. And again, it will lead to problematic behavior if it's not adjusted. So let's take a look. I'm going to ask you guys something. What's something, because I want the comment, it'll be really interesting what you guys come up with. What's something you feel guilty doing for yourself? What's one thing? Every time you think about doing it, you feel guilty. Anybody? Lay down all day. Oh yeah, that's a big no-no. Laying down, just vegging out. And maybe you need the rest. Because I think anybody else? Don't help others. I love that. You feel guilty by not wanting to help other people. Because typically the people you're helping, they don't reciprocate. It's not about you don't want to help others. My sense is the people that you're helping there's no reciprocity. Thinking about something that happened in the past. Okay, that's a heavy one, right? Taking a day off, not running errands for them. Oh my God, Shadow Pounce, I love that. Taking a day off. Now you may be doing everything for them all day long. You just want to take one day to yourself and you feel guilty. What else? Living abroad. Yeah, that's a big one. You feel guilty for living abroad or wanting to live a fuller life. And do you guys see the trend here? Not wanting to go to weddings or social events. Yeah. That's a big one. I say ye because, the aunties go, when bintik, when ibnik. You have to remember the parents get a lot of pressure. When you don't show up, the parents get the heat. Usually the mother gets the heat. So let's validate our moms that in you doing for yourself, the community will start to say, oh, bintik mishan. Let's see. Franklin's mom, taking a trip and feeling guilty for not taking a trip with my parents instead. Yeah, because there's only so much time when you're going to school or you're working or you have your own families that most of us are spread so thin that you only have certain pockets to give to yourself. Let's see. Being queer and being myself. That's a huge one. But you feel guilty for just being you, right? Think about, nobody wrote anything in here nobody's doing anything. Do you guys see the comments? Mira, what are your thoughts? You see the comments? These are things you're feeling guilty about, but what are you doing wrong? I don't see anything wrong in the comments.
Yeah, very normal things
Yeah, very normal things.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Sara said, not getting married and having kids. They always talk about me not giving them grandkids. That will be a live. Somebody had suggested for me to do a live on that. So I'm crafting the curriculum for that. So yes, we will talk about that. And in fact, you can give them grandkids, but you didn't give them enough. You can give them grandkids, but you didn't give them enough grandsons. You can give them whatever, but again, you're not doing anything wrong. You not getting married and having kids, what do that's maybe your choice. So let's talk about where this comes from. And I want you guys to understand, I'm not shaming our culture. I love our culture. Yet this collectivism versus individualism, we've overcorrected on one side. And you don't want to overcorrect on this side either, because that's problematic. We have family honor. We're taught to sacrifice, intense loyalty. And so this guilt doesn't come from nowhere. It was taught as love and protection. Now, when you have abusive parents, and I'm talking verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, they will controlling people. There are a lot of unwell parents out there who take no self-reflection, no insight into how they're moving, and they expect their children, because of this loyalty, sacrifice, family honor, to keep pouring into them, keep pouring, sacrifice self. And then there's this expectation that you emotionally fulfill them, you physically do everything for them, and you have no space to replenish. Okay? So when our values are tied to family and not self-actualization, you will be seen as selfish. What you're doing is unnecessary, even disloyal. Okay? So that creates an inner conflict. How many of you have said to yourself, if I choose myself, I am selfish? How many of you have said that? I'm selfish for giving to me by not going to a social event or living abroad. And so I'm going to encourage you to change that word selfish to self-full. And I know throughout my healing journey, it took me a long time. And I mean, be gentle with yourselves, a long time to get to that place where I'm like, I could say no to the wedding, breathe through it, or I could say no to the social event, or say no to helping someone. I can't do this right now. To say I'm giving my time back because I need it so I could give more to others. How many of you have felt the fear of disappointing your parents? Constantly feeling like you're disappointing them because you can never fill that for them. Yeah. Now, this love, you can love them versus resentment, they coexist at the same time. What I'm trying to do within this live is to help us minimize some of the resentment that you may be feeling, because you may just need to give yourself a little bit. Like I said, you just give a little bit to yourself. It may minimize some of that resentment, because resentment over time may impact your physical health. So I'm trying to help us minimize, or look at your mothers. How many of you look at your mothers or your fathers, the deep resentment and the impact of that resentment on the family system, not just the moms. This goes with the dads too. Now, you also have this inner conflict because you may grieve the family you needed. You're grieving the version of you needed. Perhaps for the stories that I hear, and myself included, is the family that says, Habibti uq'ati, rest. Habibti, ana bashufik, you're so tired. Let me help you. But there are times in your life where you have been so burnt out and nobody cared. Nobody even looked at you. There was just this expectation that you keep going. And under not only the cultural expectation, but the religious messaging that says you must do everything for your parent. And I say, well, I get that, but at what cost? And then where's the obligation to the parent to recognize the overgiving the prioritizing others, the enduring the hardship without complaint. And you just keep going and going and going. And I said, well, where do we go from there? That guilt is endless. So when you rest or say no or choose ease of your morning or your evening and you turn off your phone, whatever it is that you do, it can feel like you're violating the love language you were taught. If I give to you, Mama and Baba, you love me, but it's very conditional. But that love language, that's maybe how you were affirmed as a child. So when you don't give that to them, you may be going against yourself. And if love looked like sacrifice growing up, because we saw that with our parents, then choosing yourself can feel like you're loving people less, even if that's not true. It could feel like that. So this guilt controls you. It's a controlling force. And unhealthy, unwell parents will absolutely take advantage of that, manipulate you over and over and over again, that if you don't just choose to not invest, that they're going to tell you, you shouldn't invest in yourself. You should pour into me. Then that goes to, you're going to pour into your job. That goes into, you're going to pour into a partner, that you're pouring into all these people. Yet, where are you receiving the replenishment? But you're taught, oh, we sacrifice so much for you. We sacrifice too much for you. And that very well may be true, but they sacrificed. And as parents, so this is what I learned from a Western therapist. Well, isn't that what a parent should do? To feed you and house you and clothe you? Isn't that what they should be doing? Is that a sacrifice? And I had to really think about that. As parents, to the Arab parents out there, that's what you should be doing for your kids. They didn't ask to be born. You clothing them and putting a roof over their head and providing them an education, that's what you should be doing, because you're a parent. You brought them into this world. What, they're going to fend for themselves at the age of 3? Many of them do. And so what happens when you constantly feel this guilt and you don't give to yourself, what happens? Your growth stops. And as human beings, we're meant to grow. We're meant to expand and explore and to figure things out, because that's what creates life and joy. Yet when you constantly feel guilty for going to get a cup of coffee, or you feel guilty for sitting on the couch watching your favorite Netflix show, your growth in your capacity gets stunted. And then if you come from an authoritarian family structure, so when you were raised in a system, which many of us were, autonomy is discouraged, questioning is punished, obedience is rewarded. And what are you rewarded with? انت منيح, انت منيحة. Okay. Well, thanks. I knew that. Yet, what's the reward? What are you getting from it? Okay, you may get belonging, but at what cost to you? How much are you sacrificing? And to what degree? And many of you struggle with physical health issues that you will literally, I have had Arab riddled with cancer, going to chemotherapy. And they will, they're عارفين everything, and they will still go take care of people. And yet no one in that family is going to go, hey, Binti or Ibni, he's going through hell and back. And no one's going to say, no, why? Where is the reciprocity in seeing one another? So I'm going to encourage you to get out of that game, because waiting for them to recognize you can be a long time. So this is where, how do you give that to yourself? Now, you don't develop the internal, you need to develop the internal permission to invest in yourself. Because if you're going to wait for that approval, it never comes. Never comes. And that's the loss. That's the sadness. That's the grief. Because you're saying, look how much I'm doing. And yet it's no one sees the pain that I'm in. But can you see the pain that you're in, or the fatigue? Now, it's not about not giving to our families. All I'm suggesting is you can give to your family, but can you take a little bit of that, of what you give to others, and give it back to yourself? Just a tiny bit. But many of you can't even do that because of this intense guilt. And because many of us were parentified and had intense emotional responsibility to our families, you become this emotional support for your parents, which is inappropriate. Children should not be used as an emotional support to the parent. It should be the other way around. That the child now, if you go on your own, or you decide to live abroad, or you marry somebody you want to marry, or you want to go on a vacation, they're going to say, but I need you here. Look at my suffering. Look at what's happening. And if you were conditioned as a child to take care of them, you're going to feel horrible. You may be the mediators in family conflict. So if you go away and you get out of this dynamic, who's going to keep the peace in the family? Where are my peacemakers? And so now you're carrying the emotional weight of your family. Now, does that leave any room for you to give to yourself emotionally? You are the strong one. Inti bithammali, you can handle it. Inta strong. What are some Arabic words, Mira? That, if I'm strong, what does that mean? I can't be weak. But what is weakness? You giving to yourself now is a sign of weakness? How does that? I'd like somebody in the comments to make that make sense. And so then you now grew up feeling responsible for other people's emotions, taking care of everyone else, and then guilt when you're not available to pour into all of that. And then you have difficulty prioritizing yourself with that anxiety. Now, in order to overcome that, it's about leaning into that anxiety. It's feeling the fear and doing it anyway. Because let me tell you guys something. Our Arab parents carry so much of their histories. It's tied to immigration, war, displacement, financial instability, political unrest. And so this can create this survival parenting, which we have a whole video on. Control as protection, emotional intensity around safety and reputation. So your autonomy, even as little as it is, can trigger within them fear for them and guilt for you. Okay. So sometimes what feels like control is actually fear that was never processed. So when the younger generation says, we need to break generational trauma, it begins by, if you're a parent, to say, oh, am I living in fear? Am I projecting my fears onto my children? Then you need to take the responsibility and accountability to take a look at that, so that your kids, when they want to go do something, they're not going to feel guilty that they're invoking that within you. Now, Arab parents can say some of the most harsh things. If you don't do this, I will die. Now, you're a kid and you want to be responsible for your parents' death. If you leave me, you're going to kill your father. If you take care, like if you marry somebody outside the culture, you're going to cause the death and demise of somebody. I mean, think about the daraja, the level in which this is instilled in you, that nobody wants to be the cause of anyone's death. And reality is, you're not the cause of anybody's death. They're the cause of their own distress. And you can't do anything about that. They have to figure that out. And here's the one thing, they're survivors. So you taking the morning off and you're, heck, oh my God, I'm taking the morning off. I'm not running the errands for them. I'm not picking up the phone. I'm not, constantly pouring into them. You taking those 2-3 hours off, believe me, they're fine. They've survived 100 times worse things than you taking 3 hours off to give to yourself. And when you start to lean into that and give yourself permission to do that, you're going to discover what was in your mind, probably into the parent, like the parents, they're fine. But in your mind, it's going to be so much bigger. So you have to remember that this survival mindset that most of us live in for lots of reasons is still dominant. So for many families, especially immigrant families and post-conflict families, well, and we're still in a lot of conflict, let me just say that. The focus is on stability, reputation, and financial security. I get that. Yet things like therapy, coaching, personal development, they're seen as luxuries, or even worse, indulgences. And so this is where we have the stigma around mental health work, because there's all these other things. And I'm saying we don't have to, it doesn't have to be this all or nothing. Can it be both? Okay. But parents will say, which you guys already echoed in the comments, something is wrong with you. What's wrong with you? Keep it in the family. Just pray and move on. So we avoid investing in ourselves to avoid this shame that somehow if I take care of myself emotionally, I'm weak. Or if I talk about what's happening in my family, I'm being disloyal. So you have to remember the meta communication. If I invest in myself, it may evoke a shame. That's not your shame. That was shame that was given to you by the family. Which goes to, what are the Nas gonna say? Shame and reputation. So if you don't show up, so the community perception, as we know, carries a great deal of weight. Decisions aren't private. So a lot of times I call it the peanut gallery. You've got like كل العيلة for your life decision. Everybody has an opinion. And so boundaries can be seen as disrespect. So if you don't show up to a family gathering, and I know I was that person, there was a lot of things I didn't show up to. And I was like, no, not doing that. Maybe that's why I lived abroad a lot, because it was easier. I didn't have to deal with all the dynamics. So that was my avoidance. So if you don't show up, what happens? لولادك هن مش حاول, I'm mimicking عمتي. Terrible, terrible. That's why this platform was started, عشانها, right? شو وين لولادك? And so you have your parents listening, and then the community instilling this shame to your parents, which then now gets transferred to you. So self-care is not just personal, but it's visible and constantly being judged. Oh, ابنك هو مش محامي. Oh, he's مع الميوزك هيك. They will say these things. And then what happens? You may be in the fullness of your musicianship, in the fullness of your artistry, and yet your parents will be shamed for what you're doing. So then you may feel guilty for that, somehow failing them, that you weren't what they wanted you to be. And so it's again, some of you, and I want you guys to really hear this. So many of you may stay small to stay accepted. So you may keep yourself small. Keep it safe. Keep it with the belonging, not creating waves, not making conflict. And at some point, you may know you're bigger and you could do more for what your interests are and your joy, yet you may feel suffocated. And then you wonder why you're depressed. And you wonder why you're anxious. And you wonder why there's not a fullness of joy in your life, because you're doing everything for everyone. You don't allow yourself permission to give to yourself or to do the things that you want to do. And maybe you see the vision of your life and you see it in its fullness, yet you keep yourself small to be accepted. I don't pathologize. I get it. I understand that. All I'm encouraging you to do is to say, where are some areas where I don't have to be small? Can I create a more authentic life for myself? And in what ways can you do that? Oh, we're almost at time. So let's reframe self-care, because I know it's like, oh, self-care, it gets mocked a lot. Let's reframe that from you giving to yourself, you filling your cup, as someone wrote in the comments, you filling your cup is not abandonment. You're not abandoning anyone. That in you having boundaries, it doesn't mean you're disrespecting your parents. They may project that onto you, but that's not true. How are you disrespecting them? By saying, I want to go take 2 hours to myself to go to the gym or to read a book or to lie down. How is that disrespectful? And where is their accountability and responsibility? Say you may be working 50, 60 hours a week, going to school full time, taking care of the neighbor and doing, and you don't, there's no space for you to rest. Now we can love our culture and we can evolve it. And so how can we do that? It's by taking care of you and you showing up with less resentment. Because when you can go into a family gathering with less resentment and you're in the fullness, there's going to be less arguments. You're not going to get triggered as hard because you now have filled your own cup to the point where that petty cousin in the corner, when they start to niku or they start to say these comments to you, you're not going to internalize it as much because you're going to say, I'm in the fullness of who I am. Bring it. Okay. All right. Where are we, Mira?
We have a question.
Tell me.
It said, how do you practically deal in the situation if the family is using words of death and illness around marrying someone from out of your culture?
Yeah. Well, well, I don't know. Can you practically deal with it? If they're saying their death and illness, well, again, do we have a crystal ball? Are they really going to die? And I'm going to say something so harsh, but even if they did, you mean to tell me you have that much power that your choices are going to kill somebody? I mean, unless you're going to directly harm them physically, you mean to think you're that powerful that your parent is going to die or have illness because you decided to marry outside the culture? You practically deal with it by recognizing it's nonsensical. You don't have that much power to inflict that upon another human being. So it's naming for them, it's hard. You know it's difficult, it's challenging, and they will survive. Mama, Baba, you survived worse things. You will be okay. And they are. They're fine.
We have another question from Fawaz. He said, how do you deal with hurtful comments such as threats of being disowned?
Oh my God, Fawaz, this is one of the hardest things for me as a clinician. They're so hurtful. So you deal with it by recognizing that they're extremely painful. That, again, you can do everything for them, yet if you move outside of that, they will threat to disown you. Like, that's the only way to deal with it, is to recognize that that's unwell behavior. Yes, we can say it comes from their fear and their survival, yet at some point, how are we going to change or shift if we don't acknowledge that that's unwell behavior? You don't disown, threatening your children to disown them when, as I said at the beginning of the live, we are them and they are us. That's awful. And yet you don't have the luxury to question that, because you can't question their hypocrisy. You can't question the hurt. You can't even question that what they're saying is cruel, because you want to go do something for yourself and they're going to disown you. They're not even embodying the values that they tried to instill in you, because you wouldn't threaten or hurt your children for them being them.
Yeah. Should we end with some yellow news?
Yeah. Well, let me finish.
Okay.
Let me close this live out by saying you're not a bad person for needing space. Let me repeat this. You are not a bad person for needing space. You are going to disappoint people. That's part of growth within this context, is you may disappoint a lot of people in order to fill your being with things that you want. That's not reckless. That's inevitable. Anytime you want to give to yourself in meaningful ways, you're going to disappoint people. And if someone isn't investing in themselves, if you're not investing in yourself even a little bit, it's not just avoidance. It's a deeply conditioned survival strategy that we were taught from a very young age. And so until you can respect it and challenge it and say, I need to shift this, nothing is going to change in your life. And so now that you understand where it's coming from, and you stop seeing yourself as the problem, and you start to see the pattern, to say, I'm not the problem here. Me wanting to have 3 hours to myself is not the problem. And so I'm going to encourage all of you, if you could take one thing from today's live, is what is one small way you can choose yourself this week? One small thing. Because until you can get your nervous system that's really anxious, oh, if I do this, I'm disloyal, and all the messaging, until you can say, I'm going to take the morning off. And you're going to find nobody died, nobody's ill, everyone was fine. Your nervous system will go, oh, that was okay for me to do that. Okay. So I wanted to thank each and every one of you. Mira, let's do Yalla News before we wrap up. I hope today was helpful. You will find the full live on YouTube. So if you missed anything, or if you wanted to get more understanding and reflect more upon these concepts or these ideas, feel free to go to that and check it out.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Now, let me just remind everyone that if you're looking for more support for anyone that's asking for one-on-one sessions, or if Tiffany offers workshops, you can find all the information for everything on our website. The link is in the bio. There's an upcoming workshop. It's coming up very soon about managing anxiety. So if you're interested and you want to see more details, you can go check it out. It's on our website. You can also find an ebook about the autonomic nervous system, which I think it's amazing. You should definitely check it out if you're looking for support here.
Sorry. Go ahead. Do the last one, and then this will be a good ending.
Yes. And also, if you're looking for one-on-one sessions, you can also check that out on the website. There is limited availability, but Tiffany's doing her best.
Yes. There's no availability, but you can do a consultation with me, and we can go from there. But this is where Community for International Arab, what we're doing in here is we have the LGBT support group. It's $25. We make things for you to invest in yourself. We do what I call the lowest hanging fruit. So there's the ebooks, there's the support group, there's the workshop. So you can say, well, and the investment is small because it's not the money, it's the mission for me. Can we invest a little bit in ourselves, give people that taste of, well, let me see what this looks like. Let me invest in watching a video, or doesn't cost you anything, or let me invest in getting the ebook so I can journal a little bit, and for you to develop your own inner work. People say, Tiffany, what's the solution? Habibiyati, you know what the solution is? Doing the work. Nothing is going to change unless you do the work to understand yourself and many of you are so good. I love working with Arab because you guys already know. Okay? What is going on within you. It's in the action that I see so many people being challenged in our cultural context. So take small action steps to invest in yourself. If you wanted to take a class, take that class. You want to take that, pick up a musical instrument, go do that. You want to go hang out with your friends for a little bit, go do that. Give yourself permission to fill yourself with the things that bring you joy, and then you will have more space to deal with the intensity of what many of our family situations deal with. So with that said, I wanted to say thank you to each and every one of you for all the support of our community, that together we will heal, together we will find compassion and understanding for one another. And that begins with us coming together as a group to help uplift us, because we need it. As we say here at Community for International Arab, nawar, that the light in me sees the light in you. May you go forward to finding your passions, your love, your desires, and take that step. You won't regret it. All right, you guys, meet us next week for Wadih Wednesday, 8 a.m. Every week we do that. And we're going to have a special guest that's going to talk about living in the diaspora and some of the issues between first and second generation. I think many of you will really like this live. All right, take care, everybody. Enjoy your day or evening.